Start to send a couple of easy, good breaths through your body. Your legs could be long, or you could bring the bottoms of feet to touch, just depending on what feels good for your body today. As we're sending some good, deep breaths through our system. The idea that we're working on today, the Sanskrit word for it is Pratyahara. What this means is sensory withdrawal. And so we're going to be working on taking ourselves deeper and deeper inward toward our system. So the first thing that we're going to do to kick us off with that theme for today is a mudra or a hand position that essentially brings us toward that sensory withdrawal. So I'll explain it first, and then we're going to do it. And so just know one of the parts of this mudra is that your thumbs plug off your ears for a couple of breaths. So just know already, when we get into the mudra, you're going to take 3 really slow, deep breaths. And when you finish all 3, just let your arms fall open to the side so that way I can peek around and see if everybody's done. So what we do with our hands, make your hands like a Spock sign where the pointer, middle fingers are together, ring and pinky are together, and then the thumb is out. And what we do with our hands here is we place the first 2, the pointer and middle, over the eyes. And then we place pinky and ring over our mouth. And then when we get started, the thumbs will go into the ears. So again, it'll be 3 good, relaxing, slow breaths. And then whenever you finish, just let the arms fall open to the side so I can know that everybody's done. So when you're ready, first 2 over the eyes, next 2 over the mouth, then plug off your ears, take 3 breaths. Beautiful. Keep on allowing deep, slow breaths to flow through our system. We'll start off a little bit of movement. We'll begin with the knees pointing up. The feet will be slid in close to the glutes. And we're going to take bridge pose. So hands are by the hips. With our inhale, lift up the hips and roll up 1 vertebrae at a time. Stay in that tallest spot with the hips. Some of us can clasp hands behind our back to create a little bit of a shoulder opener. You can walk your shoulders under. For some of us, that's okay. The hands don't quite reach. That's okay. It's not required. Let's just take 2 or 3 more good slow breaths right here, lifting up high. And releasing hands, let the hips roll all the way back down to the ground. From here, right hand will go to half happy baby. So right hand grabs the outside edge of right foot. Let the knee go nice and wide. And some of us will rock a little bit on our back. Some of us will just be holding still, trying to get that knee to open really wide. So it doesn't matter too much which one you do, just do what feels good. I'm sending these slow, deep breaths through our system. So this is kind of the first pose that reminds us of a tortoise or a sea turtle, if you like to imagine that a little bit better. Imagine the turtle's on its back. It's helping its hip to open. The tortoise is a really good example of that sensory withdrawal, because when it wants to or when it needs to, it can curl up into its shell and go into that place where it's not so affected by the outside world. It's shelled in, it's protected. So keep on holding the right hand to that right foot and try to take just a moment to see how high up you can get that right leg to stretch to sky. It's still early in class, so we might not be going very straight at all. That's okay. Just notice how much it can go. And start to let the knee bend again. Coming right back down where we were. And then take the right ankle, place it on the left side. Once it's there, we're going to set up the figure 4 hug. Spread both arms to wrap around the left leg. Either around thigh or shin, whatever you can reach. Send a couple of easy, good breaths through your system. Hands release. Set this unit back down so we're keeping the ankle up. And from this shape, let both knees fall over to the right. That should take left leg to that deeper internal rotation. I love it too because it kind of helps me feel like there's extra space as the left hip is pulled a little bit further away from the left shoulder. So just breathe some space into that area. And the knees lift back up. Start to tilt them all the way over to the left now. The goal is to keep that right knee trying to face up to the sky. So if your hip is tight and the knee starts to curl in, keep your left hand on that knee to keep it facing up. If you're here and your hip isn't really stretching at all, you're welcome to scoot the whole unit all the way a little bit closer in toward left shoulder. It's up to you, the depth. Send a couple of more easy breaths, helping us stretch through the hip area. Good. Lift the legs right back up, then place the right foot on the ground. Let's take another bridge pose. Hands slide in, hips roll all the way up. Maybe hands clasp behind your back if you can reach. Take one more huge inhale. Exhale. Hands release, roll back down. And then half happy baby on left side. Left hand grabs that left foot. You choose if you're rocking a little bit or just pulling the knee open. Whatever feels best. Take a moment to try to straighten this leg as much up to the sky as it can. It's okay if it's not super far. Good. Swivel it back down for a moment. And then take left ankle to right side. Once you've got it crossed like that, hug around the right leg. Another good breath flowing in. Exhale, hands release. The foot goes to the ground. This time, legs tilt over to the left first. Right leg is going internal rotation. Legs tilt back up. This is where they go over to the right. Try to keep that top knee still pointing up to sky. Even hands can be there to help. If you're not feeling anything, feel free to scoot the whole unit closer to right shoulder. Deep breath in, out. Release the cross of the ankle. When hips are back to the ground, take a full happy baby for a moment. Both hands strike the ground, both feet, the knees swiveling open. And then 3 times really slowly, we're going to try to get both legs to straighten out the best that they can. And just bend right back where you were. Take another one. 2. And bend. Last one. And back to bend. When we release our hands from the feet, let's rock our way up to sit. And as we go in toward cobbler's pose today, it's going to be a little bit different. The feet are together, but they're really far forward today. So from here, give yourself a couple of breaths to let the back muscles start to relax forward. Just tilt. Okay, so back is a little bit more used to this shape. What we're going to do is just try it out, see if your body will receive it. If not, just come back to this place. But take the right hand and try to get the elbow to come to the space under that right knee. From there, the right hand itself just kind of wraps around the foot. Left elbow, same thing. Through this inside part and then try to wrap it around the hand around the foot. And from that wrapped shape, this is our first, most simple version of tortoise pose today. So we're curled in really nicely. Feel how this helps to stretch the low back. Especially give the neck and head a little bit of attention for this first one. So sometimes I don't realize it, but I'll keep tension in my neck even without intending it. So try to release all muscular effort, let the head drop as heavy as possible. Feel how that stretches the back side of the neck. Depending on how your body feels, maybe you take the right ear a little bit closer to right shoulder. Maybe left ear a little closer to left shoulder. Dropping right back down through the center. Start to unwind the hands. Press the hands into the floor to support the spine, lifting back up. And we're going to ease through the hips a little bit more. So just keep this left foot tucked in, nice and easy. Right hand goes to the outside of the right foot. Kind of like that half happy baby that we did. 3 times, pull the knee back as far as you can. And then try to straighten it up in front of you as far as you can. 2 more like that. 2. And up. 1. And up. Good. Use your left hand to support you as you try to lower the straight leg down in front of you. A couple of breaths to release over that straight leg. Help the hamstring, all those muscles on the back side of the leg. Take a couple of breaths to try to get both hands to the right side of this leg. Just see how far you can walk your hands over to the right without lifting either sitting bone. Good. Walk back through the center. Continue to go over to the left as far as you can without lifting either sitting bone. Back through the center, another huge inhale. Exhale. Left hand again props us up so that right hand, if it grabs that right foot, we come back to that same shape we were in before, lifting the leg. Let's take 3 more cycles. Knee goes wide. And up. 2. And 1. Cradle out this leg, give it a couple of rocks through the hip. And then when we drop this leg down, it's going either for shin stack, if you can keep both sitting bones down, or cross leg, whatever works. Hands find the floor, ease forward, with a good stretch. Walk the hands over to the right. Maybe one or both elbows even touches to that right thigh. Easing through some of those low back and hip connections. Good. Arms walk back out, going through center, over toward left. And off at that left side, maybe one or both elbows comes into that left. Good. Walk back out, go through the center, take a bonus breath, flowing in. Out. Good. Second side. So rising up, right leg just gets to rest. Left leg, we start off grabbing the hand to the foot. 3 times, pull the knee back. And let it reach up. 2. 1. Try to set the leg down. Your right hand can help support that release. Let yourself stretch through the leg. Get both hands to the left side of the leg and just see how far you can walk over to that side without lifting either sitting bone. Back through center, off to the right. Just see how far you can without lifting either sitting bone. To the center, left hand grabs the foot, the right hand is something we can press into to lift. 3 cycles, knee full step, and up. 2, 1. Cradle the hip, a couple of rocks. Release it down, shin stack or cross leg. Fingers walk forward. over to left. Stay long, or maybe one or both elbows completely touch side. Walk back out long, go to the center, go to the right. You stay long, or one or both elbows slide down. Come back out. As we go through the center, take that bonus breath all the way in, out. Good. Walk the hands in. The legs may need a couple of windshield wipers before we can come to feeling. So if needed, let it go left, right. Pulling a couple of times. And when it feels good to come to kneel, swing the legs underneath us. With all the hip opening we've done so far, just notice how the low back muscles are doing. Might take just a little bit for them to get more used to this up and down movement. So take a few rounds. Nice exhales. And another full cycle into two. Come back to neutral. When you're there, we're gonna head up to camel pose. This is a good back bend. I personally like to tuck my toes because it gives me a couple of extra inches. So then once you're kneeling up high, take your hands to rest them on the back side of the hip area. That helps support our spine so that as we bring the hips forward, start to arch the heart up, the low back is still supported. You're welcome to stay with the hands here. This is pretty tight. If anybody feels comfortable enough to try to drop hands to the ankles, that would be full camel. So your choice. Good. Take another huge breath in. Out. Hands return back up. Heart starts to lift. And then to help counter stretch that, we're taking rabbit. Untuck the toes. Set the forehead down in front of you. Each hand wraps around for each side to grab the heels. And then from that grip, we lift up the hips. That rocks us to the crown of the head. And you'll feel the spine rounding back in the other direction. Good. So one more inhale. Exhale. As we release out of this, walk our hands up to the top of the mat. Moving nice and slow motion like a tortoise. Slowly start to bend your elbows. As slow as you can to lower the heart down. And a really slow cobra arching up to the point that feels good for our back. Good. Tuck the toes, head up to a nice, easy downward facing dog. Maybe movement through the legs, maybe stillness. Good. So nice and easy. Let's start to walk our feet forward. So we end up in a forward fold at the top of the mat. Release back muscles and head all the way to drape down. Nice inhale. Exhale. I'll circle arms to the sides to rise. Good. So hands to the heart. This is a balancing posture. We're going to be shifting our weight to try to stand on that left foot. The right ankle comes to that left thigh. As soon as you start bending the standing leg, this creates more of a shelf for you to try to keep the ankle up. So balance is difficult here, you can always go closer to a wall. Maybe handstand the heart. Sometimes we can drop hands to the knee and ankle, or slide closer to elbows, or sometimes fingers for floor, so just choose the depth that works for you. Slow motion, we're going to try to rise back up to stand. In that last minute, grab the foot, try to place the foot on the thigh. We're shifting our spine all the way upright into tree pose. If it needs to go more to calf, that's perfect. And one more inhale. Exhale. Let's release. If you ever need to shake things out, that kind of resets our nervous system. Good. Yep, just go ahead and try right back in. That's a good question. Okay, let's try second time. So shifting weight to the right foot. Left ankle starts to work its way up. The standing leg is bent to create the shell. It's totally fine to stay here. Hands at heart. Maybe hands to leg. Elbows to leg. Or fingers to floor, whatever depth is going to work. Good. Inhale. Exhale. Try to reverse our weight up. That last minute, grab the ankle, place it on thigh or maybe calf. Good. Good catches. We got this. Good. Posture goes back up right at that last moment. Maybe the branches grow this time. Reaching hands up. Personal preference. Good. Inhale. Exhale, release. And let's take it to Malasana. So the hands, the feet step about as wide as the mat. We're going all the way down to yogic squat. So know that if you prefer to sit on a block instead, that's fine. Or if you need to just step even wider, just press the thighs open. That'll be another variation you could take. But the full Malasana is trying to squat down in between your feet. Our goal ultimately is to try to get the feet flat. So usually there's a spot just like blocking the feet in or out where it feels a little bit more comfortable. Elbows push the knees open. Good. Hands to the floor if needed to help your balance. That's okay. Sometimes that's where we're at. That's great. Good. Try to take 2 more breaths. After that second breath, one hand comes in front of you, one hand comes behind you to help us softly lower down the sit. And when we're there, we're going to take our next tortoise pose. So I'll give you another option. If what we were doing before wasn't enough, you want to keep on playing with it, or if the body's opened up a little bit more. So the first option was feet together, but they're forward, and then trying to wind the elbows under. If you want to go just a step further, try to separate the feet by a couple of inches before you go down. Separation, and then the elbows start to wind under, hands can wrap. Just release the head down, give those low back muscles that chance to slowly stretch. Again, it's never wrong if you choose to go back to a variation we played with feet. Know that that's a rule for any of my yoga classes. Usually I start with the easier stuff and then we work our way up. So it's never wrong to go back to one that we've done. Start to unwind the arms. As they come up, our legs might want a few windshield wipers. Give it 2 to 3 rounds. And when you're ready to come back to kneeling, we're going to take another camel. This class has a lot of those forward folds, so this camel is the chance for our spine to open up backwards. So perhaps toes tuck, that helps me at least. Hands up the low back, hips push forward, heart raises up. It's perfectly fine to keep hands here. If anybody wants to try to drop hands to heels, that's okay too. Or inhale. Exhale, tuck the chin in. Bring the hands to the low back if you've dropped. And as we bring ourselves down, it'll be that rabbit pose, the counter stretch again. So forehead down, hands wrap around for heels. Lift hips up, rocking the crown of head. Good. Winding out of that. Take it to kneeling plank, or maybe you want to head to full plank this time. We do that slow motion, lowering down like a tortoise. Slowly up to cobra, or whatever back bend feels good right now. And to downward facing dog. People start to work their way up to top of that. Here, let's take a bonus inhale. Exhale. All right. Hands to heart. Good. So we'll play with the same balancing we were doing just a moment ago. I'll give you a bonus challenge if anybody wants to try to go for the challenge. If you want to skip the challenge, you'll that second half of it, you'll try to go back to the tree pose instead. So that'll be the option you can take if you're not with me for the challenge, because it's a little harder. So shift your weight to left foot. Right ankle comes up. Same thing as before, maybe hands to heart. Maybe working hands to leg, elbows down, or fingers to floor. Couple of breaths right here. This helps our hips to keep on opening. Slowly we'll start to reverse our way up. Again, you could just go for tree pose, or if you're going with me for the challenge, right hand grabs the outside edge of right foot. You get our spine all the way upright to stack. And then, to whatever balance we can do, try to straighten right leg out to the side. Good. Come back. And just softly drop it down. Beautiful. Okay, so second side. We got this. Yep, you shake out your nervous system. We got this. Okay, so left ankle up. Choose how far you're going down. Standing leg bends, maybe hands to heart, hands to leg, elbows to leg, or fingers to floor. To reverse our way up. Tree pose is perfectly fine, or left hand grabs left foot, then spine comes back up to stack. Once the spine is up, then maybe the leg tries to straighten out to the side. It's okay if it's not all the way straight. It's like what we were playing with earlier. Maybe the leg needs to be a little bent. Good. Softly release down. Beautiful. Whatever efforts we did, be proud of yourself. You did awesome. Let's go back down to Malasana squat, or whatever variations you're playing with. Knees bend out to the sides, elbows push. The hips more open. So I'm going to give a variation with twisting here. You don't have to take the variation. You could just stay right in the center. If you're going to play with a twist, the first step is right shoulder needs to drop a lot closer to the right knee. Right fingers to floor, left hip up to sky. Stay here, or there's a bind option where we wind around the shin and try to get fingers to clasp. Good. We'll start to unwind, come back through the center. Breath in, out. Stay, or left shoulder starts to get closer. And the floor, right to side, or bind around the shin. Good. Huge inhale. Still. Back through center, just one bonus breath. And hand in front and hand behind, softly lower hips to ground. Beautiful. You got it. Hips are like, I don't know about this anymore. That's okay. So soft, so soft. Okay, so another tortoise. Version 1, feet are together. Version 2, a couple of inches separation. Version 3, you're starting to get more like a 1.5 or 2 feet of separation. So more and more. So choose your variation. See if the elbows want to wind under. Give that low back a chance just to relax as the head drops. Release the hands. Support the spine as it lifts back up. Get a couple of windshield wipers before we come to kneel. Imagine more and more space available in our hips from this practice today. Good. So you're ready to kneel. Let's do another camel. Toes can tuck. Hands at the back. Arch up. Maybe hands down, you don't have to though. Even hands to block is an option. The legs. Head up. Hands to back, drop down. Take that reverse pose. Forehead down. Wrap around to each heel. Hips lift up. Just feel that space in between shoulder blades stretching. Inhale. Exhale. Unwind. And heading to that kneeling plank or full plank. Slowly lower down. Easy. Cobra. Downward facing dog. On the down dog, right leg will start to float. Gonna step your right hip on top of your left hip, bend the right knee. Toes are being sent just a little bit behind you. Good. Straighten right leg back up. Then step right foot to the outside of right hand. This will be lizard pose. So the back knee can be lowered. That's the version I'm taking today. You can also lower down to one elbow or both elbows if there's space for it, whatever feels good. Let's work our way back up onto hands. The right foot, it doesn't need to be all the way to the center, but if it was really inching its way kind of almost off the mat, maybe walk it in just a hair. The back toes tuck so we can lift up that back knee. The back toe rotates down. Good. So from here, right hand stays on the ground. Left hand starts to reach up to sky. And then that left hand comes to the space behind our low back. Maybe even kind of trying to inch the fingers closer to that hip crease. So either stay right here or try to play with the bind. The right hand comes under the thigh and the fingers clasp together. So either way doesn't matter too much. If you feel like your hip is kind of clenching up, drop back down with the hand. Nothing wrong with that. Take about 3 more breaths right here. Right hand goes back to floor. Left hand back up to sky. This isn't the perfect variation of triangle because the hips kind of turned in, but give the front leg a chance to try to straighten out as much as it can. Good. And then when the left hand goes down to the floor, we're going to take it to pigeon pose. So let that right foot work its way all the way across the mat until the knee can swivel down. The back leg scoots back. You just drop down to elbows. Nice, easy pigeon pose. Give yourself breathing space to that hip. One more inhale. Exhale. We're going to plant our hands. Tuck our back toes. Then we're either lifting directly up to downward facing dog, adding some wiggles, or if anybody wants that slow motion flow, you can take a bonus one here. Up to you. Ultimately, we'll be lifting left leg up to sky. Bend the knees and the toes just a little bit behind you. Straight leg back up. Step left foot to outside of left hand. Lizard pose. The back knee can softly settle down. Maybe drop down to one or both elbows. Block can give us a little bit more space if the floor is slightly too far. Good. One more side, lifting up. So come up to hands. If the foot was really far out to the side, maybe inch it just a little bit. And then the back knee lifts so that the back heel can drop down. The left hand stays on the floor, in front of the other foot, in front of that front foot. Right hand up to sky. That right hand tries to bend at the elbow. The hand is behind the back. Maybe toward that hip crease. Maybe play with the bind. Left hand under the thigh. A little bit like this tortoise in its shell. Kind of safely curled in. Left hand to floor if it lifted. Right hand back up to sky. Just see how much that front leg can try to straighten for a moment. That triangle pose variation. Good. Right hand drops down. Take this front foot over to pigeon. All the way across the mat. Softly settle the knee down. And release to elbows. Another good inhale. Exhale. Planting the hands. Come up to one last down dog just to give our hips a chance to wiggle out. Add some motion back to that area. That feels doable again. We'll eventually settle back down to a seated place. Good. So when we're here, let the left leg go out straight. The right foot is planted. Try to slide the foot in nice and close. And the first thing we'll do is a twist toward the leg. So left elbow tries to hug around the knee. Right hand is behind us. So take a moment to spiral through the vertebrae. Returning forward. What we're going to do from here is I approach this from kind of lifting the right hip up a little bit. I reach my right hand up to the sky. And then as I lean forward, my goal is to try to get the right shoulder past that right knee. So from here, the right hand will try to hug around, placing the hand kind of at the hip area. So this is version 1, just forward fold like this. That'll get the shoulder in an opener. Version 2 is to create a full bind. The left hand comes from behind your back, fingers try to clasp. Couple of breaths right here. Start to release. Knees our way out. Maybe that right shoulder does a little shrug back, forward. Good. Switch out the legs. So with this left foot planted in, twist into it. Hug around the knees, spiral around the spine. Forward. If you're going to try it the best that you can, try to lift up the left hip a little bit, left hand up to sky. Lean forward, trying to get the shoulder past the knee. And then the hand wraps around, trying to get the hand placed by the hip. Stay here or right hand around your back. Sometimes when we're working on withdrawal of the senses, this internal focus means that things that are pesky, we can choose to not focus on it. So like a mosquito bite that you just want to itch all day long. Maybe for a little while when you're practicing Pratyahara, maybe you choose consciously to not touch it. Even though it itches, we choose what we're focusing our attention on. Take one more inhale. Exhale. Put that shoulder, the left one, just kind of sink back and forward. One more pose to wrap us up today. This is the full tortoise. So remember, you can take any variations, feet together, feet slightly separated, feet really separated. You're going to try to go for full tortoise. The knees are ultimately upright. We're getting the hands on the floor to each side. And then the idea is the further we walk the hands to each side and the further forward we slide the legs, the more we get wound up in our tortoise shell. So you can play with any variation. The full tortoise is kind of an advanced one, so don't feel like you have to do it. But let at least a couple of good deep breaths flow through your system. Take one more inhale, exhale, Wind the arms first. Easy rise up. We'll start to head down toward our Shavasana. If the body wants any stretches in between, that's beautiful. Take it. Or at any point when you're ready to rest, choose a position that's comfortable for a few minutes, legs long or feet together. And it'll be your choice if you want to take that Pratyahara mudra again. Close enough the eyes, the mouth, the ears for a couple of breaths. And then dropping down to just the beautiful normal Shavasana. So your choice, what takes us towards Shavasana. Your choice when you settle down. But even Shavasana itself takes us to the sensory withdrawal. So let yourself just be with the breath. Begin to deepen our inhales. Exhales. Introduce little movements back to fingers and toes. Elbows and wrists. Stretching out like it's first thing in the morning. just taking a nice fetal position for a couple of breaths. For 2 or 3 good relaxing cycles until you feel ready to come up to a comfortable seated position. We start to rise up sooner or later. Let's join hands together in front of the heart. So Pratyahara, sensory withdrawal, is one of the steps to get toward the deeper meditative states. This reminds us that we can choose where our attention goes. If we allow our attention to be external, we don't have quite as much control over it because any little thing that happens could throw us off our balance. But as we keep on learning to tune inward, then we can choose. We can choose to have single-pointed focus on whatever we'd like to focus on, whether that's internal or something very focused external. Therefore, every little thing doesn't have to sway us. So with Pratyahara, this idea to lead us into the rest of this beautiful day, let's wrap up the time we shared together with the sound of Om. Deep inhale now. May we be filled with light, happiness, and peace. Namaste.